welcome to this week's vlog. So this week I'm currently in the Pyrenees and I've decided to do one of the vlogs which is your questions answered. So in the vlogs about packing a bike box and also the one where I got to road with Fabian Cancellara, at the end of those I asked you to ask me your questions about cycling and then I'd do a vlog answering them. So this is going to be that vlog, or one of those vlogs. We do more in the future. Now thanks for everyone that commented. There are some brilliant questions and you know we enjoyed reading them, and the only thing I can say is apologies we can't answer them all, but I've picked a selection of some of the best questions and then I'm going to answer those, and hopefully even if your question doesn't get answered there'll be some useful information in this vlog for you. So I think we should dive in. So first up is a question which actually won a prize. So Eat, Ride, Grow writes, I already asked this and it's already been sort of half answered, but since it's a competition I'll ask it again here. Performance wise, what's best? Tubs, tubeless, latex or standard tubes? For a bonus question, tubular rim tape or glue? Now, this is quite a complicated question, but the short answer is that tubeless is the best option. Now, the reason for this is that we've shown in other videos as well that tubeless tyres can offer very low rolling resistance. They also have the added bonus that you can run them at lower pressure because you're less likely to get a pinch flat, and you can also get less chance of punctures because the puncture protection, although it's not perfect, it won't stop absolutely everything. It dramatically reduces the chance of punctures, which can only be a good thing. But, and there is a caveat to this, it's wrong to say that they are the best because outright. And the reason for that is that setting them up can still be a faff, and that shouldn't be understated. If you get a puncture, it's not that much of a problem. You can just put a normal regular inner tube in and carry on going. But there are still some issues with sort of tyre and wheel interfaces. Setting them up in the first place can be a bit of an issue, and also sometimes there are issues with the bead tyre interface so that they don't actually hold air that well. So, you know, that considered, I don't believe the technology has been perfected yet across all wheel and tyre systems. So if you find a good one, a good wheel and tyre combo, then that'd be a good thing to go for. I'm a big fan of the zip wheels and zip tyres at the moment. They're sort of combined ones together work pretty well, and Mavic's own tyres and own wheels also work well together as well. With regards to latex tubes and standard tubes, I did a vlog on that very subject, so you can actually, we'll put a link to that below and you can check that out in more detail. And your other question, your bonus question that you ask about rim tape or gluing. So when you stick a tubular tyre on, for those that don't know about this, you can actually glue it to the rim with glue, or you can use rim tape. Now the advantage of glue is that it will create a stronger interface with the tyre and the wheel, and therefore the wheel can slip less against the tyre as it goes round, and therefore you get lower rolling resistance if a tyre has been well glued to the rim. But some people can glue better than others, and also some glues are stronger and tighter than others as well. So it's not that simple an answer. Plus gluing is messy and a faff, and if you ever change your tyre, cleaning the glue off the rim is also a massive faff. It's not a pleasant job if you ever had to do it. So the advantage of taping your wheels on is that it's much quicker to do that. Also, you have to prep the rims in advance with a coat of glue, leave them sort of to cure for a period of time, usually around 24 hours, add another coat, then add a coat to your tyre and then stick them, and it takes quite a long time, usually a couple of days, to properly glue tubular tyres. Whereas if you use tape, you can do it pretty quickly, and tape has a lot less mess. But as a general rule of thumb, taping results in a slightly slower system with a bit more rolling resistance. I hope that answers your question. Eat, Ride, Grow. So the next question is from Corey Island, who writes, when you were training for Project 49, what training or lifestyle change do you think had the biggest impact on your success. So I think the whole part of Project 49 was doing all the little things better so that they would all come together and give me a much better performance. And I think pretty confident it paid off and it worked. But having said that, I think some of the biggest changes were simply eating a good diet, where I had carbohydrates when I needed them to complete tough sessions or ahead of a race, and also home cooking with lots of fruit and vegetables, and just basically try my best to cut out as much processed crap as possible, really. And then after that, the other big thing I'd say that is easy for anyone to make, and you don't need to spend any money, is just to focus on good sleep. Have a set bedtime, make sure you get in as much sleep as you can. You know, sleep is crucial to recovery, and you know, once you've got structured training plans, the more that you can recover, the better you can complete sessions and also just get stronger. So yeah, I mean, it's easy for us to sit on the phone and watch YouTube videos late at night, but I'd say don't do that. Watch them at a more sensible time and concentrate on some sleep. So next up, we have some questions on lube, which is one of my favourite topics. So, Yaha Bali and Neil Truswell both asked questions about lube. There's a great website called Friction Facts that has measured many of the commercially available lubes on the market. And if you're interested in performance and saving watts, then lube can actually make a massive difference and a very cost-effective way of improving your bike. You know, typically it's reasonable to say about 5 watts can be saved from, you know, a less optimal lube to a more optimal lube. And personally, my favourite lube is squirt lube. Now, it's one of the best performing lubes on the market. You'll see this on Friction Facts, and I'm not paid by them, I'm not sponsored by them in any way. Like, I'm not sponsored by any lube. If any lube manufacturers want to sponsor me, then get in contact. But you know, squirt lube is, you can see it's independently tested to be one of the best performing on the market, and it's very reasonably priced. You can pick up a bottle depending on where you live or what country for around sort of £10 a bottle, which is comparable to things like Muck Off and stuff like that. But you know, lube lasts a very long time. When you buy a bottle of it, you don't need to use loads and loads of it. The Ceramic Speed UFO lube, I've tried that out as well, and that is reported on Friction Facts to be slightly faster, ever so slightly faster than the squirt lube, but it's way more expensive. And so, you know, I would be tempted to stick with the squirt lube. Now, in terms of keeping your drivetrain lasting a long time, then the key is to regularly clean it and degrease it, because what wears the drivetrain out is when it gets dirty, and that it can get dirty with any kind of lube, and then it builds up this sort of black grinding paste, and that's what wears down the chain and the jockey wheels and everything. So you want to be getting rid of that, putting on nice clean new lube onto your chain. Now, with regards to asking about performance and dry lube and stuff like that, and also will that maintain your chain, then dry lube is good if the conditions are dry. That's what it's for. But as soon as it gets wet, dry lube can be washed off very quickly. I've used the Muck Off one, and within, you know, a few minutes of riding in torrential rain, it's gone, and you can hear your drivetrain squeaking. So if you use a dry lube and it's a wet ride, your drivetrain's going to wear out quicker, because once the lube's gone, it's just metal on metal grinding away. So if there is any hint of rain, I'd say use a wet lube, and have both. Have a wet lube and a dry lube. Dry lube for performance, because it has slightly lower friction and will be faster, ever so slightly. But a wet lube is going to stay on during the wet and stop your drivetrain wearing out. So I hope that answers your questions. Jamie Wiley asks, what is the biggest stupid little thing for you in cycling? And you know, what's something that you've done that's a stupid little thing, a mistake you've made in the past? So I've done loads of stupid things. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I like to think that I learn from them. One of the most stupid was, I travelled all the way from London, well, South London in Croydon. I drove all the way up north, up the M1, which if you don't live in the UK, is a really long way, up to Hull, which at the time was the UK's capital of culture. There was so much culture going on there. I went to Hull to ride the fastest time trial course in the country, which is called the V718, and this course is renowned to be the fastest 10-mile TT course. And so I went all that way. It took me about 5 hours to get there. I set off, did my warm-up, got TT bike ready, and I was trying to ride a 19-minute 10-mile time trial. I set off and I rode from the HQ, done my warm-up, and riding to the start line. And as I got to the start line, I went to just change into my gear that I wanted to be in at the start. And like, horror story, Di2 battery dead. So I was just like, oh God. And I'm like, oh, I do. And I was stuck in the 53-15 gear for the entire time trial. And yeah, I felt like such an idiot. I was just like there with all the gear and I was stuck in that. So yeah, always remember to charge your Di2 before a big event. It's such a first world problem. The next question is from Only Bedis, who has written, would you recommend a gym routine on top of your regular cycling in order to improve your cycling ability? And if so, what sort of stuff should you train? Well, this is a really tough question to answer, because with this, there's so many other factors that come into play, and there really is no one size fits all. What's best for me might not be best for you, but I'm going to answer this question from my perspective right now. I did do a full feature on this where I did an 8-week strength and conditioning program. So we will post a link to that in the description so that you can click on it and read it. It's a written feature, but I did it in quite a lot of detail. So hopefully there'll be some useful information in there for you. But to summarize it quickly, I looked at my power output across various times. So sprint, max power, 5 second, 10 second, that sort of thing, over an 8-week period, starting from no strength training through doing 8 weeks of strength training. What was it after? And ultimately, in my case, my power did improve. My sprint power went from being about 1,000 watts to over 1,000 to around 1,200 watts, which is a significant increase and you know, really good. But the problem is I was really tired out from the training, so that I would have never have been able to get to the hard point at the end of a race in order to use that power, because I detrained my other cycling ability. So ultimately, in my case, I have around 10 to 12 hours a week to train, and I personally feel that I can be a better cyclist by focusing that 10 to 12 hours on the bike, maybe with a sort of 30 minutes to an hour of core, if I can fit that in throughout the week. But generally speaking, I get the biggest bang for my buck riding my bike and doing structured training on the bike. I think if you were doing more like 18 to 20 hours a week, like a pro would typically be doing, then you have more time to train, and then it can be good to fit in some more gym work on top of that. But I think for the vast majority of amateurs, the biggest gains you can make on the bike can be from just riding your bike. That said, if you do have a specific weakness or you're coming back from an injury, gym work makes total sense. And also, depending on the kind of riding you're doing, I do road riding and riding up mountains, and I like to be quite light. But you know, if you're going to be doing track sprinting, then pure power is definitely going to be something you should work on. So you find a lot of track riders do way more gym work than, you know, riders like me that generally stick to the road. Great question here from Anthony Locke, who writes, what are the best cycling films or documentaries out there? I really enjoyed watching Icarus. What are your recommendations? Well, firstly, Operation Hill Climb and Project 49. If you've not watched those, watch them. They're free and they're on YouTube, probably in the suggested videos there. But I would also say one of my favourite ones is it was a book originally written by Robert Penn, and he then turned this into a documentary called It's All About the Bike, The Pursuit of Happiness on Two Wheels. This is great, and I'm a massive fan of this. What he does is he goes about telling the history of the bicycle through the process of him building his own dream bike and sourcing all the dream little parts he wants for his bike. So he goes through the history of all those parts, whether it's the group set and the rear derailleur to the wheels and all this stuff, and he travels all around the world building his best bike. But his passion for cycling and bikes and tech and stuff like that just comes through really strong, and it's great, and he's great. And the other one that I have to suggest is Breaking Away, which actually won the best Oscar for 1979 Best Original Screenplay. There you go, fact. And it's a classic coming of age film, and I think it's Dennis Quaid's first film as well. And yeah, it's a bit of a cult film now, Breaking Away, but it's about a group of high school kids that are really into cycling, and they live in Indiana in America, and cycling at the time in the 70s isn't cool, and it's yeah, it's a good film. It's definitely worth checking out if you're into cycling. And if you see anyone wearing Cutters t-shirts, that's a sort of cultural reference to that film as well. So a lot of people I noticed were asking this kind of question, so I've picked one that a lot of people are asking, which is from Jeff Lowe, who writes, for the average cyclist doing group rides and maybe a sportive or two, is it worth the cash to invest in a power meter? And if so, what are your recommendations, and what style do you think I should get? Does it really need to be dual-sided? Well, I think whether or not you want a power meter is, you know, down to you really. It doesn't matter what your ability level is on the bike. If you want to improve, then a power meter is probably the single biggest tool you can get that can help you improve if you use it correctly. Buying a power meter won't instantly transform you into a faster cyclist. That's not going to happen. But what a power meter can do is help you track your progress and help you structure your workouts, but also give you feedback on things like if you're in a more aerodynamic position, you can get a feel for that as well, because you're putting out less power to go the same speed. And it's a very, very useful tool. I would absolutely recommend it. If you're interested in getting one and you have a desire to improve, a power meter is definitely the way to go. If you can afford it, then a dual-sided or bottom bracket based power meter is definitely good. But again, there's no one size fits all when it comes to power meters, and if you're on a budget, a lot of single-sided power meters are perfectly sufficient. I've used them as well, and they're fine. You know, I think ultimately, if you want pure accuracy, you've got to go for a more expensive unit. But you know, there comes a trade-off, and I think that's something you have to decide for yourself. We have got a guide to power meters video, so I'd suggest maybe watching that if you've got any sort of questions to do with that, and hopefully that will answer them. Next question is a good one, and it's from Anne Cromhoot, who writes, I have an endurance geometry bike, and since I got it, I've got a lot fitter, and I feel that I could probably ride in an aero position a lot better. The problem is, I don't want to spend top dollar on an aero frame, and I've watched your optimized aero seating positions video, and what could I do with my bike to improve the aerodynamics, or, you know, without having to get a new one? This is a really good question, and the first thing to do is, well, slam your stem and perhaps consider getting a longer stem, as this will sort of stretch you out longer and lower. But also you might want to consider getting a negative angle stem. Now most stems naturally come with a -6 degree negative angle, that's the standard they come with. But you can also get -17 degree stems, and this will lower your handlebars much lower at the front end. So perhaps consider getting one of those. Quite a few of the pros like to use them as well, so it'll look pretty cool on your bike. And it'll help you get lower at the front end. But also remember, many of the pros ride endurance geometry frames in some races as well. So Fabian Cancellara, Fabs, he favoured the Trek Domani, and he rode it in most of the races he competed in towards the end of his career, not just Paris-Roubaix. And you know, we look at John Degenkolb won Paris-Roubaix on a Giant Defy, which is a sort of endurance geometry frame. So you can get aggressive positions on these bikes. Another thing that you could do would be to change your handlebar. So handlebars, the shape of the drops comes in different drop lengths. So as standard, I'm guessing that your bike has probably got a compact drop handlebar, because that is what most come with these days. But you can get what's called a standard drop bar or traditional drop bar, which has a much bigger U-curve on the drop. And as a result, when you're in the drops, you're that bit lower. So that's something else that you could have a look at as well. So the next question is from Andy Painting. Hi Ollie, picture this. I'm on a group ride. Being in a mixed group, there are people quite slow on the long climbs. So, is it bad etiquette for me to reach the top and then ride back down and do it again while they're still riding up? And how do I even tell them as I ride past them on the descent? Well, I guess it depends on how you approach it. If you ride past them like, come on, good God, how slow are you? And then like ride back down and just sort of be really condescending, I don't think they're going to appreciate it. But if you, if you're cool about it, if you go out on a ride and you say, right, there's a hill coming up on this route, just so you know, guys, I'm gonna do an effort on this hill, but don't worry, we'll all regroup on the top. I'm not just going to ride off. So if you want to do the effort with me, you can do, or you can just ride at your own pace. It's cool. And I think if you have that level of communication, you explain to people, most of the time they're understanding, and that's the kind of good etiquette to do on a group ride. Without that, there can be a bit of confusion in the bunch, and people are like, God, why is this guy attacking us? And it's not an attack, he's just doing an effort. But I would say if you are reaching a point where you're finding you're significantly better than your riding buddies, then still ride with them if you want it to be social, and that's the reason why you're riding with your friends. But do consider going out with some people who are perhaps a bit better than you or stronger riders, as that's a good way to train. And if you ride with people that are faster than you, as I seem to do all the time, then you'll no doubt get stronger. It's a good way to bring yourself on. We've got another good question here, and I really like this one. So it's from Mail, which is, what is your favourite interval session? If any intervals can be a favourite at the time of doing them. Now, Jacob Tipper's my coach, and he's mint, and he gives lots of really good sort of sessions. And the key thing is I'd say the best intervals are the ones that you're motivated to do. And if you can make them interesting in any way, then that always helps. Now, I really like something that's called Tabata sessions, which is a sort of HIIT workout, if you're familiar with that. What they are is the classic one we do, and I did these with Matt Clinton as well, who's the hill climb coach, and British Cycling also do these intervals. You typically do an interval that has a total length of around 4 or 5 minutes long, and you do 20 seconds full gas sprint, as hard as you can go in 20 seconds. Then you get 10 seconds recovery, just recover in that 10 seconds. Then 20 seconds again, full gas, 10 seconds recovery. 20 seconds full gas, 10 seconds recovery. And you keep doing those 20 seconds, 10 seconds until you reach the length of your interval, usually around 4 minutes. And at the end of it, you should be feeling like you're going to be sick. But it's only 4 minutes and it's over really quickly. And you can do these, you can do just one of these, or you can fit in 2 or 3 if you have time, quite easily within 45-minute session or an hour session, with a warm-up and a cool down at the end. And they're really good to fit in around other commitments, as I find, and also they just give so much bang for your buck in terms of helping you burn fat, helping you improve power, helping you improve your VO2 max. They are hard sessions, but really, really good. And you just get a buzz after you've done it, because it's a tough session. So I really like those. And also Tipper also does another great session that he sets me, which is riding at sweet spot. But riding at just sweet spot for a long period of time can be a bit boring. So what he does is he says ride at sweet spot, and then every 4 minutes 45 seconds you do the last 15 seconds of that 5 minutes as an attack. So you do 4 minutes 45 sweet spot, then 15 seconds full gas attack, and then settle back down and recover into sweet spot again for another 4 minutes 45. And keep doing that for like 20, 30, 40 minutes, something like that. It's good to do it on a climb. But yeah, I quite enjoy those sessions. So the last question I'm going to answer is from William Ashurst, who says that I bought my first road bike today. Top work, nice. And I'm planning on doing my first sportive in a few weeks. What's the best way to prepare for your first sportive? So the best way is to just simply get out and ride your bike and enjoy it. And I'd say don't be scared. You can probably get around unless it's a really hard event. But just go out, ride your bike, and you know, plan a route and try and build up your distance. It's as simple as that. Go out and, you know, if your sportive is 80 kilometers, just go out and set yourself achievable goals. Try and ride 20 kilometers. And then once you've done that, then let yourself recover. And when you next have time, go out and ride 30k or 40k. And don't worry about not completing the whole distance ahead of your event, because you'll be buzzing off the event, and the sense of occasion and the adrenaline and all the rest of it, and the fact that there's probably going to be feed stations there and loads of other riders around you will carry you around. The one thing I would say is don't eat too much. A lot of people, when they first do their first sportive, they do what I call nervous eating. They feel they need to eat too much, and they look at the thing like the gel packet and it says consume 5 an hour, and it's like, no, do not do that. Have a good breakfast a couple of hours before, have some energy drink, and have, you know, a few sort of bars and things, and if you need to stop and eat something, but yeah, don't eat too much, because you might feel a bit sort of sick, and it's easy to eat too much if you're nervous. But just gradually build up your distance and enjoy it. Like, it's going to be fun, you know, so can't wait. Let us know how you get on, William Ashurst, and good luck. Really glad to hear that you've bought your first bike and you're going to be doing your first sportive. I've got to head out now and do a bit of filming outside. So we're actually, yeah, in the Pyrenees, and keep an eye out, because there's going to be some, there's a vlog and also some other videos about the Pyrenees and the up and coming Tour de France stages that are going to be in the Pyrenees this year, including the special 65-kilometer Tour de France stage. So we've actually gone and ridden that and done a preview video, so can't wait to show you guys that, because it's such an amazing stage. So thanks again for watching, and thanks everyone that commented on last week's vlog when I was riding in the team car. If you've not watched it yet, go back and watch it, it's a good one. I'll aim to answer more of your questions in the future, I think, because I think it's pretty cool. But I started this vlog off in the Pyrenees, and now I've magically teleported using superpowers to the Lake Zürichsee in Switzerland. I'm currently in a little town called Laeken because I'm here for a BMC launch. BMC are launching some cool new bikes, which unfortunately are top secret at the moment, and I can't tell you about them, but they're pretty awesome, and I can't wait to, so rest assured I will. But regarding last week's competition to come up with a team name for a bike team, there were lots of very good answers to win DHP Aeron lab kit. A lot of them made us chuckle. I think I want to read out a few. So CC wrote Team Bonky McBonkface. I mean, that's just the joke that just keeps on giving, isn't it? I mean, when will that get old? Not yet. But I think the winner is Super Chris 312, who I like to think went through all the Super Chris's 1 to 311 before he got to 312. Either that, or maybe he's ridden the Mallorca 312, don't know. But either way, he commented, Team Michelin Possible, sponsored by Tom Cruise, of course. Yeah, that's quite funny. I like that. So just get in contact, Super Chris 312, and we'll get your prize off to you in the post. So this week's competition is a chance to win some socks. But these aren't just any old socks. These are Rule 28 Aero socks. Now these socks have been shown to be independently tested and shown to be more aerodynamic and faster than normal socks, which is pretty cool. And I've been wearing them a lot when I've been racing or doing time trials and things like that. And I'm a big fan, but they're only a small company. And also a lot of pros are starting to use them as well. So we've seen a lot of pros at the Commonwealth Games on the track who are wearing these. Those that know kind of know. And Adam Hansen's been wearing them on the road as well. So pretty awesome. So to be in with a chance to win, I want you to comment with your cycling small claims to fame. So while you've been out riding your bike, what is the smallest claim to fame you ever had? Have you ever bumped in to someone famous while riding your bike? And let us know in the comments. Obviously you get more points if it's not a cycling celebrity, so not a pro cyclist. That counts for less in this competition. So yeah, just comment below, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week. Bye. It's raining. Blooming raining. It's sunny back home.